for future generations. Just as their pace of life was slow, so was their disappearance from the surface of the earth. Beech timber takes 20 to 30 years to disintegrate. Spruce and fir timber take even longer. A tawny owl chick has left the nesting hole. Even though it cannot yet fly, it can move skillfully on the tree's branches and trunk. It speeds up its viability by learning about life in the forest. Dead wood provides a refuge and a place for rodents to find food. Large carnivores have been extinct in most European states for more than 100 years. However, they can still be found in the Carpathians. Deep woods and mountain communities with an abundance of ungulates are home to the grey wolf. It makes burrows in places which humans rarely cross. Its body build is adjusted to life in the wilderness, to long and fast wandering. A nest placed on a mighty fir tree has come to life again. A couple of black storks have come back from wintering in Africa. Unlike the white stork, its behavior is quiet and discreet. The black stork uses one nest for many years. The nest can become quite large, as the stork tends to build it up each time. It does happen that the tree branches cannot stand the weight, and the nest falls to the ground. The forest is not an accidental composition of trees, plants, and animal species. It is a highly organized community with its own laws and manifestations of life. Each individual has its role in the forest ecosystem and directly or indirectly influences others. Abandoned burrows, places under fallen trees and dense bushes, are resting places of the wild cat. It likes to warm up in the sun and can sleep up to 2/3 of the day. Its brain stays alert as if awake for them. It is said that the wild cat has 9 lives. It is thanks to its sharp senses and unusual vitality. The particular playfulness of the kittens is limitless. It helps them to gain skills needed for hunting and fighting. The wild cat is very cautious. It is difficult for a human to spot it in the wild. Its worst enemies are foxes, eagle owls, and especially lynxes. The lynx is one of the native inhabitants of the Carpathians, of Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest. It lives alone, apart from the short time of mating. It is a strictly carnivorous animal. Its dominant senses are hearing, sight, and smell. It is extremely vigilant. In case of being disrupted by a human, it leaves the prey without returning and leaves it for ravens and foxes. Dead wood is a substantial and irreplaceable part of a functioning ecosystem. It supports more than 1/3 of forest biodiversity. Fallen tree trunks are a home to the most abundant group of all the animal kingdom, insects. If the cemetery of rotting mass disappeared, these creatures would be lost as well. The development of Pterochus chrysomelinus is dependent on decaying wood. Approximately 1,500 species of wood beetles live in Central Europe. The primeval forests of Slovakia, especially in comparison with other European countries, are places with a relatively high abundance of rare species. Little is known about some of them. The rarest and most threatened beetles are those which develop in dead wood. Rhysades is a protected species of European importance. Reptiles are not typical inhabitants of the forest. The viviparous lizard uses a tree stump to warm up and to hunt. For insects, it is typical that their life in the last stage is short. It is therefore possible to see many various species at the same time during a little period of time. In order to function well, the forest needs energy, the energy of the sun's rays. It is the sun's rays that start the ever-repeating cycle of water. Average yearly rainfall, especially in the form of rain and snow, reaches around 900 litres per square metre in Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest. Water safeguards the flow of all nutrients in the soil and in plants. The water of rich rainfall is caught not only by trees, but also by the undergrowth and soil. The forest functions as both a sponge and a filter as it gradually discharges clean water into the atmosphere and rivers. Lying trees covered with mosses represent an important water catchment area. 1 square metre of moss is capable of retaining up to 10 litres of rainfall. Bug moss is a rare moss species strictly dependent on dead wood. It is considered an indicator of forest naturalness. The forest creates its own microclimate. Therefore, a decisive factor in water retention in the soil is the quality of the natural forest. The thirsty throats of the chicks know about water well. A refreshing gulp and back to the treetops for food. The fire salamander likes to spend its time near forest brooks and springs. It leaves its hiding place under the vegetation, especially during the night, after rain, even during the day. Its 20-centimetre long body is always moist. A poison excreted from glands placed under the eyes protects the salamander from its natural enemies. It lives up to a respectable age of 25 years. Up to 3 to 4 tons of dead organic mass is created on 1 hectare of forest during one life cycle, which lasts several centuries. Wood disintegrating fungi are of a decisive importance in the ecosystem of the primeval forest. Almost 280 species of fungi have been found in Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest. The presence of many is rare and outstanding. The Hericium species is one of the rare and most beautiful ones. More than half of fungi species are bound to dead and decaying wood. There are specific fungi species for each tree species and its phase of decay. The fruiting bodies of fungi species can be present on a certain tree trunk for several years. Others stay only once during a long cycle of decay. Fungi, together with bacteria, gradually disintegrate organic substances, which again become part of the natural circle of substances. Without these purifying processes, life on Earth would cease to exist. Through the process of symbiosis with fungi, plants and trees gain higher resilience to drought and frost, and use a higher volume of soil. Fungi came into existence in the Mesozoic era, which means they have already been on this planet for 400 million years. The diversity and colourfulness of fungi makes them look like jewels on decaying tree trunks. Lichens are natural bioindicators of the cleanliness of the area. Currently, Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest lies in the stage of decay and at the beginning of the stage of growth. The last stage of the fir tree cycle, after the tree dies and the trunk loses its original shape, changing into a shapeless mass and becoming part of the soil system, is longer than an average human life. During this time, the microworld has hosted literally thousands of species. The longevity of the fir tree oppresses the young individual waiting in the shade of the giant. It can be from 150 to 240 years until the young ones are allowed some space and more light. The tree community of Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest is the most productive mixture of natural forests in Slovakia. Spruce reaches a height of up to 50 meters, beech and maple over 40 meters. However, the tallest tree is the fir with a height of almost 60 meters. The mightiest fir tree of the primeval forest has lived for up to 500 years and is among the biggest trees in Europe. Soil has an irreplaceable role in the forest. It acts as a connecting line between biotic and abiotic nature. It is a source of nutrients for plants and a source of food for animals. The wild boar digs through the soil and in that way encourages natural renewal of the forest. The mighty arch of treetops protects the soil from contamination and erosion. The diversity of the fir beech natural forest provides a rich source of food and suitable conditions for the nesting of approximately 50 species of birds. Birds, especially songbirds, are important regulators of insects' abundance, contributing to the creation of a gentle web of relations, supporting the stability of the whole ecosystem. The collared flycatcher is one of the species with the tightest bond to dead wood. It nests in tree holes and half cavities. The number of nesting holes suitable for breeding the chicks is not big. For this reason, it has to strictly protect its hole from other interested individuals. In the forest, species can be found nesting on the ground, in tree holes, in bushes, and in the treetops. The most typical ground nesting bird species is the European robin. It makes use of half cavities under tree roots, just above the ground. The summer is at its highest, and young storks are in the last stage of their upbringing. Their parents stay with them only for a short time after bringing food. The family will be getting ready to fly to Africa in the middle of August. The storks avoid long flights above the sea. They use the airflows above the continent. In the warmest summer days, butterflies have also come to their most beautiful time. Rich flowers of Hempergryphene, full of nectar, are a lure for the butterflies and numerous insects. The warmth of the summer days is swapped for cooler autumn mornings. The singing of the birds has ceased, and the surrounding forests below Klinovsky Vepor echo with a voice full of passion. The king of the Carpathian forest, the red deer, looks for the company of does more often during the mating season. He is less cautious at this time. His female companions warn him of danger. Usually the strongest males get to mate with the does. They have to be on guard all the time and protect their harem from competitors. They remind them of their willingness to fight by making a loud noise. It is the time of mating, the time of love, the time of birth of a new life. Carpathian nature changes notably to the rhythm of the seasons. Summer fading into autumn is most visible in the forest. Days get shorter, there is less and less daylight, broad-leaved trees deplete the leaves of all the precious nutrients. It is a very clever strategy of nature for survival. Dobrodsky Prales primeval forest shows its most beautiful colours. Each primeval forest differs in detail. All of them have certain common characteristics. First of all, there is tree and plant species stability. Internal climate and stable soil composition follow. Many trees have fallen onto the forest soil during thousands of years, and that permanent sufficiency of humus is a guarantee its quality sustainment. Death is just as important in the forest as birth. The fall of one is the precondition for the rise of the other. Natural forest renewal inevitably assures the balance and the maintenance of the permanent cycle of the forest community. The Carpathian forest dazzles in the sunlight with the beautiful colours of autumn. The first frost takes the last leaves away and changes previously wild vegetation into the substrate needed for future life. A wonder of falling leaves is changed into a winter idyll of white snowflakes. Only a small number of species have been able to adjust to the conditions way below freezing point. Most of them have gone into warm hiding places or have flown to the south. Those which have stayed have to live within limits. A large amount of snow restricts movement and takes up energy. Everything is quiet. Fine, fluffy snow mutes every sound. The birds have no reason to sing. Here and there, a woodpecker can be heard. The snow has covered the food of the bear as well. Its traces lead to a remote place where it hibernates over the winter. The ever-repeating circle of life, of 4 seasons, and the life cycle of 4 centuries of Dorotsky Prales primeval forest have been governed by nature for thousands of years. It keeps a balance in this huge organism where everything is interconnected. A tree is a symbol of life for a man. A forest is a source of oxygen and water for the country.